In this video, I'm going to give a real quick rundown of how this spreadsheet works, not how to use it, but how it is built, so that in the future, if changes need to be made, there's an idea of where to go here. So this first page is simply the price calculator. There's not too many options. There's these different drop-down boxes to choose different transfer sizes. You can choose some or none, or you have to choose at least one for the price calculator to work, but you don't have to select the second transfer type, third transfer type, fourth transfer type. But if you do, these need to match. They either have to have a wearable transfer and a size, because you can see down here, like, that just broke this, whereas if I set that back to none, it works like it should. So if I set this to a second wearable transfer, I have to pick something in here, and then the formula will keep working. But if I set it back to none, I can change it. So garment price can be whatever. If you need it to be a CSG order, put this as a 0, but you still put the garment quality in, or garment quantity in. You'll see it changes it from the price being here to the CSG price. So yeah, that's that. And then the logic for all of this part, this is just shown just in case the salesperson has a question, or the customer has a question about, like, oh, but what is the actual markup, like, okay, or what have you. So that's just shown in case there's questions, but this should really be about all that's needed most of the time, is those two answers. Now these other two sheets should not be edited unless the person doing the editing is confident in what they're doing. So this one, you can see that there is a comment. There's 9 comments on this page, and there's 1 comment on this page. The comment is here. If you just hover over it, it'll pop up. Don't hit the green button and it'll never go away. But also, it's so important, I also have it here in red, so it's actually in 2 places. And this is when SUPA eventually updates their pricing, do not change the price on the master data sheet. Only change it here on the SUPA price sheet, because the master data sheet pulls from here. And I'll show you what I mean there. I'll come over here and over here, and this one, you can see it says SUPA pricing, which is the name of the sheet, SUPA pricing, and B10. So B10, if I change this number, it will change right there, and in all of these columns all the way down for the logic. So you really do not want to mess with the price on this sheet. Just update it here as needed. And that's all this is. This is just a spreadsheet of numbers, so that the master data can pull from there. So here, there's some comments. When you hover over them, it'll kind of tell you what's going on. So these first 2 columns are just the basic data that makes this function work. And this is the formula that creates the drop down on the front page. So if you look at it here, it's a filter formula. The filter formula, if I change this to be other things, it's going to change here. It's going to tell it to go look at a different so if I change it from wearable transfers, if it's set to wearable transfers on the front, it'll show this drop-down menu. If it's set to soft shell blockers, it will show this menu, and so on. So you definitely do not want to mess with this formula at all. The only reason to do that would be if you were adding something more at the bottom, but it's actually already set up. If the colon B and the colon A mean that this will pull data as far down as you put it. So if I added a whole nother section here, it would still work how it should. The only thing you would want to do is make sure this none 0 ends up at the bottom every time. So if you were going to put in another transfer type, you'd want to put it in above the none 0. So that's that one. This comment, it's another one that allows the second transfer type drop-down menu. So it's the exact same thing as it's the same formula as this one, but it allows the second transfer type to go. So if I come over to the front page here and I choose another kind of transfer, you can see all of a sudden this second list exists. And the same is going to happen for the third and the fourth. Again, there's no reason to mess with these. You know, like you can add stuff to add things down on column A and B, but don't mess with the filter formulas themselves. Coming over here to the production cost logic, let's see, what is this? Oh, this is just the real basic formulas. Each one is commented that, so when you put in the number of garments, this first one, it rounds that quantity up to the nearest multiple of 15. This divides that value by 60 minutes. This is just to calculate the production cost. This adds the labor cost of $120 an hour. That divides it by the ordered quantity, and that rounds to the nearest tenth to display it as a dollar amount so that you don't get something like a cost of and 32.359965 cents sort of deal. So this is the first one. It's not changing the, let me be more clear, it's not changing the garment quantity. It's trying to figure out then how many minutes it will take to produce them. So it's rounding it up to the nearest 15 minutes. So it's taking the number of garments, assuming 1 minute per garment, and then rounding that up to the nearest 15 minutes. So say if there's 32 garments, it's going to tell the next point in the logic that it's going to take 45 minutes to produce those 32 garments. And then the rest goes down from there. So this, let's say if you had 500 garments, this will divide it into the number of hours. That's going to add the labor cost, and this is going to divide it down into a price. This one, you don't need to change it. This is just the same as the formula. It's literally the price calculator B10. So whatever you put in the price calculator, on the price calculator sheet in spot B10 will show up here. This lets other formulas work. Again, this will never need to be changed. It just allows other things farther down the line to work. This is your CSG logic. So this just pulls whatever is put into the price calculator page B9. We'll look at that. So price calculator B9 is the garment price. So if we set that to 0, we can go back and see that now the CSG logic says 0. And then these two won't do anything, they'll just sit there. However, if we change, I'm sorry, let me say that. They won't change. What they're doing is they are calculating, so it's price calculator C30. C30 is the suggested price. The suggested price just adds up, if I click here you can see it adds up the price from these boxes. And yeah, you don't really want to change this either. The ones that are left out for a reason, because we need to do the markups. Like, this is just for information. We don't want to put it in the price, because if we put that and that, we're overcharging the client. This is the price we're charging them. This one is just for information. But anyhow, so C30 is what pops up there, and that's the price of the transfers. And then this takes that and divides it by 0.75 to add our cost, so what we're going to charge the customer per garment for CSG. And that will then show up here. This quantity, again, it's just the quantity from the front, but it allows other things to work. These are the most complicated part of the whole system. Boy, don't mess with these if you can help it. They should auto-update from everywhere else on the sheet. These are all nested if statements. The search variables, don't change those. If you change these from 2's, it will break everything. Like if I change that to anything else, the whole spreadsheet stops working. So like these 2's are important and need to stay there. So these are search variables. These are the quantity breakdowns. And these are some of your nested count ifs. Don't and more nested if statements. Don't mess with these unless you really know what you're doing. If you look at this and you don't need any explanation, great. You know enough to change the if statements. Otherwise, leave them alone. This is what allows the whole front calculator to work. The same with everything up here for the price logic. Everything is there for a reason. Like this is pulling from all the way over here. So whatever gets changed on the front page, it has to find these. These are only saying none right now because none is selected on the front. If I come over here to second dimension and I pick anything, doesn't matter what I pick. Come back and now you'll see that that no longer says none and zero or zero. There's things there. So now it's running through its price logic. So again, you don't want to change that. Gotta change the blocker type first. Yeah, that's the basic rundown of how this spreadsheet works. If you need to change the price calculator for CSG, like say in the future you decide, you want to charge, 85%, this is the only place you need to change it. You just come here, change that to 8.5, and it'll work fine from then on. Yeah, the only things that really should ever need to be updated here are the SUPA prices, and if a new type of transfer comes out, you would need to add the transfer information here and here. Oh boy, and actually now that I think about that, you'd need to add it into these as well. That would be a big job, and definitely something that only someone who's either has a lot of time on their hands to learn how to do this or already knows how to do this can make it work. But yeah, so that's the basics of the SUPA price spreadsheet and how it works.